Yeah. We actually tuned in to the USATF Marathon Olympic trials. So that was different for
It's
us.
crazy. Those athletes are crazy.
Yeah, shout out to every single one of those athletes who crossed the finish line, attempted to cross the finish line, because I know some they didn't make it, and so hats off to them.
My legs would have gave out.
Yeah, and I know you're not going further than 30 minutes.
Don't disrespect me like that. What's going on, everybody? Now, this probably looks like, man, these two are doing random videos, just popping up together. But no, this has been something that we've been talking about for quite some time now. This is conversation that we have away from the public eye. And so we decided, well, there is no perfect time for anything. So we decided to put our thoughts in the public eye and for everybody to join in on a conversation that we often get to have. So this is the Run Your Race show with your host, Akeem
and Chanelle.
What are we going to get out of the show? What's the purpose of this show? Isn't that a great question?
It is. And I think you touched on it. We talk about track away from the camera all the time. You left the sport in 2017. I left in 2021, but we are still, if quote unquote fans. We have a lot of friends that still run. So we talk about it. We talk about funny stories from our years and years of running. We talk about life lessons that we've gotten from the sport. So I think it was just time to, like you said, bring the conversation to the people and let them join in and hear what they have to say.
And also, the backstory as well, too. If you've never seen us before, we do have a background in track and field. I'm Jamaican born, but Canadian raised. Been to 2 Olympic Games, couple World Championships, 2012 Olympic Games, 2016 Olympic Games, helped Team Canada get a bronze medal in the 4x1. I am a sprinter. I don't do the long stuff. You do the long stuff. But went to school in American University of Alabama. So we are able to relate in different ways, in different events, and different things. My background in track and field is different from your background in track and field. Do you want to tell them a little bit about your background, what events you do?
Yeah. You said distance. I wouldn't go that far. The 800 meter middle distance. Went to the University of Tennessee, multi All-American there. 2014 indoor world champion. 3-time world relays champion in the 4x8. So a quick summary of some of my accomplishments, but yes, the 800 was my focus, whereas you were a sprinter. Mm-hmm. So we definitely do have different backgrounds, and I think that's what makes it fun, our conversations.
Yeah, because I can give you a handful of times how many times I did stuff over 200. I don't really do that.
Yeah. And then there's me, and I've done 10-mile runs. So coming from different ends of the spectrum. So
we're trying to combine 2 worlds, but also give the entirety of the sport in different ways, different perspectives. So this is not a biased show. It's not going to be a show that we bash athletes, especially track and field athletes. It's not a show where it's going to be drama filled. If that's what you're looking for, this is not it. This is not it. We're going to give our honest opinion of the sport. Because again, at the end of the day, we both like watching the sport. We have people's friends, mentees, people that are still involved in the sport of track and field that we want to support. But now that we are away from the sport, we can give an insight into, a normal spectator fan perspective with the mentality of still being able to put ourselves in the spikes, in the shoes, and say, you know what, that's what they could possibly be thinking during this time. And so that's the insight that we're going to share on this show. What you can expect, once a week, we're going to be here, right? And it's generally going to be Mondays. We're going to be talking track, but we're also going to share those life experiences, those lessons that we've learned, and bridge the gap between life and track and field, because I believe we're all running our race. Thus, why the show is called Run Your Race, because we're all running somewhere. And I think a lot of us are running the same direction more than we think. So that's what you're going to get from the show. We're going to come here, give our honest opinion, different perspectives on it. And we're always going to close out with a lesson or a topic that is going to be encouraging for those coming behind us. Or maybe you're in the current space in the sport as well, too. So going to be interesting to see how we get started. We got a lot to discuss today. As you can see, there's no promos of the show leading up to it. None of that. We just get into it. And so why don't we do just that? Let's actually talk about the weekend in track and field. You want to share with them a little bit about what we kind of were able to see this weekend?
Yeah. We actually tuned in to the USATF Marathon Olympic trials. So that was different for us.
It's crazy. Those athletes are crazy.
Yeah. Shout out to every single one of those athletes who crossed the finish line, attempted to cross the finish line, because I know some, they didn't make it, and so hats off to them.
My legs would have gave out.
Yeah, my love, you're not going further than 30 minutes.
Don't disrespect me like that.
Well, yeah, just we got that. We got to tune into that, and that like I said, that was different for us, and it was encouraging. That was, yeah.
You know what? And that was your idea, because I didn't even know that was happening. But what I did like from it was the fact that all of the people came out. I think so much you can get energy when you see people out cheering you on just to help you get over that extra, I guess, miles or 7 miles. Nothing gives me the energy to run 7 miles.
26 miles.
But I'm saying the last 7. I don't know. If I think about the 26, I'm psyching myself out. I'm like, yo, that's far. So it was really good to see that, man, like there were people along the whole road supporting and cheering and making it exciting.
Yeah, I heard it was loud.
Yeah.
I heard it was loud. And I'm sure, because when I used to compete, the energy of the crowd did help. I mean, I don't know if you felt that. You ran for like 6 seconds indoor and like 10 seconds outdoor. But when you're running for 2 minutes and there's just people, this the energy. I think that's why a lot of people liked running in Eugene, because those fans. And then over in Europe, forget it. The stadium is electric. So I'm glad. I like that. And like you said, I'm glad the fans showed up for them, because 26 miles is a long way to be out there by yourself.
But before we continue on, what else we saw? What's the longest you've run, or training wise?
Hour 15.
1, why? 2, what was going through your head? Say, like, because me, like, I'm on the treadmill for 5 minutes and I'm tapped out. Like, mentally, I'm like, yo, this is terrible. I can't wait to be done. And it's very negative. It's not a healthy.
Yeah.
So what at what point does your mind tap out, or do you just zone out and you say, man, whatever, I'm just one foot in front of the other? How do you get past that barrier where you say, this is stupid?
I think music. When I used to run that long, I had to have some type of music or podcast in my ears. And then when those negative thoughts did start to creep in, just remembering why am I doing this? I'm getting stronger. It's going to help my 800. So, but yeah, those negative thoughts definitely did creep in. I did not like mileage. So yeah, next topic.
Same. I also did not like mileage. We also saw Texas A&M. I think that indoor track facility is always a beautiful facility. I mean, some of these NCAA facilities, man, are beautiful. First of all, shout out to all the junior college athletes out there. I see you doing your thing. Barton Community College, best junior college out there. But quick shout out to Tabaria at New Mexico Junior College. I see what you're doing there. But we saw some good performances there. And the one that we saw on Sunday, the New Balance Indoor Grand Prix, that new track, that new facility there. What were your thoughts on, let's rewind it back, when it comes to just the indoor part of things? Some people aren't always excited for it. Were you one of those? I mean, you're a former indoor world champ, right? So
I loved indoor.
Yeah.
Indoor in the 800 was kind of favored my style because I was a front runner. And so kind of almost like that catch me if you can mentality. And it's very hard to get around people in indoor. So it really favored me to be a front runner. And if you go out and watch my indoor race in 2014, I led from start to finish.
He was out.
Out. That was the plan all along. So I loved indoor. Whenever I was healthy enough to compete, I always did compete indoor. And I think early February, where we're at right now, is when we start to see the collegiates and the pros really start to drop some gems indoor. And it's that time to start sharpening up, because World Indoor is only a month away. NCAA's is only a month away. So we saw some good performances. We can't skip the Mets World Indoor tour in France.
Yes.
We watched that on Saturday too. That was another big one. So yeah, we watched a lot of track this weekend.
And leading into that, this goes to one of our first topics. Well, not first topics, but something that, we're going to call performers of the week. And this is a part where we want to hear you, who you think is the performer of the week for you, because this is an interactive show, right? We're trying to, it's not just about us, where we want to hear from you as well too. So, let's get into that as well too. I like this show already because we don't do the fluff. You know me, I don't really do all that fluff stuff. So, performers of the week. I think you should open it for us. Yeah, just go ahead.
It was tough. I had two women, actually, not being sexist, but for me this weekend, it was two women who were neck and neck. And what made them so close in my decision was because they did two races in the same day did very well in both races. We had Julian Alfred, who did a fast 200, a fast 60. And I almost went with her, but I had to go with Femke Bol and her double in France. I mean, the 49.69, an hour later, 22.64. I mean,
yeah.
It's hard not to pick. That's a fantastic, and the fact that the 2 was only an hour later than the 400, and just how she looked. It's not always about like, oh yeah, that's a fast time, but how she looked running that 400, which I think is tied for the 6th fastest indoor ever. Yeah.
Opening.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. Yeah. See. Yeah. Didn't even think about that. Her opener. And so she's, like I said, I love indoor. I love when the big names show up for indoor. I'm excited to see her run next month at the World Championships. So my pick, performer of the week, Femke Bol.
And would you say that Jillian would be a runner-up?
Yes, definitely.
Because what she was able to do as well too. I mean, doubling anything is crazy, but for her to go 4.224, that's pretty tough. So it's a great choice. For me, I know for me being a sprinter, a lot of people are probably, it's Akeem, easy money, no allows. And while more times than not, I would go that way, but this time I'm not. This time I'm going to go with someone who, away from camera, I've been telling you about this person, talking about her for year and a half now? Mm-hmm. And the first time I saw her run, it's a woman as well too. You know what I'm saying? The first time I saw her run, I was like, man, this young lady has a lot of potential. If she can clean up a couple things here, I think she could really be dangerous, because she seems to have a maturity about her that you need. And I think it really showed in this race. And for me, my performer of the week is Tia Jones. She ran the 4th fastest time ever in the 60 hurdles. And as you talked about, sometimes it's not about necessarily what you run, but how you perform. And in that race, I mean, you're talking about, you had the world record holder Toby's in that race, right? You have Devon Charlton is in that race. You have the young, hungry collegiate athlete that just turned pro in Masai Russell. So you have all of these athletes these are the best of the best. And in America, as we know, it is the hardest team to make, especially in that women's hurdle race where anything can happen. So for me, I always favor how an athlete handles the pressure in the moment. I would have went with Noah Lyles. Obviously, he ran a great race. Akeem ran a nice race as well too, 6:45. But if he would have ran that race with a Marvin Bracey in that race, a Trayvon Bromell in that race, a Christian Coleman in that race, well, that would have changed things for me.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying the other guys in that race aren't great. They are at what they do. But for me, this right here, the way Altia Jones performed with the world record holder right there, I thought that was exceptional. And it really goes to show the maturity and the level of handling the pressure in the moment. So for me, she is my performer of the week. You went with Femke Cabal. We want to know, who is your performer of the week? Let us know in the comment section below. It is an Olympic year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you just mentioned that with USA being the toughest team to make. I know that all too well. But yeah, Olympic year. Do you think this because it's an Olympic year, is that different than all the other years, or is it kind of the same approach, same thing?
I always look at it from two different perspectives, right? As if you are a casual person who just watches track. So let's say I take myself out of the athlete side and the one who watches it. If I'm someone who just turns on a TV and I'm like, oh, yo, track is on, it's the Olympics. Mm-hmm. I'm only thinking that, okay, if these guys are only running every 4 years. Isn't that crazy that people actually think that? Like, I understand it, but taking myself out and being the casual in this situation, you're just thinking, wow, man, these guys, it's been a great year for them. They're training hard. And it's different because it's just track and field championships are happening every single year in some capacity. But every 4 years, it gets the spotlight a lot more because it's being in front of us. And that's what makes it exciting. So from a non-track and field standpoint, it's broadcasted a lot more. It's magnified a lot more. But from an athlete perspective, you know, it's really, when you think about it, the only thing that changes is just the title of it. But in an Olympic year, you are going for the quote unquote, the glory of it, that prestigious title of saying, man, I am an Olympic champion. And if we're talking about from a financial standpoint, it's probably better to be a world champion in that time. But the Olympics is different because, and you and I have talked about this as well too, there's an Olympic dream. There's not really a world championship dream. But there is an Olympic dream. I want to be an Olympian. And you become a part of this prestigious club, so to speak. And so you're thinking about, man, maybe one day I can be Olympic champ. And that young kid who is having those thoughts, and you're at that level, you're like, wait a minute, I can make that young dream a grown reality. So that's what makes it different, is because it's the title that attached to it. It's the name that comes with it. And you subconsciously, whether you think about it or not, you put a lot of pressure on yourself that year. And you may not even know. So I do think it's different than any other year because if you don't capitalize on it,
you gotta wait for more.
You gotta wait another 4. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think you hit it right on the nail. I think, like you said, subconsciously, or some people consciously, you do put that pressure on yourself. Every professional runner wants to be an Olympian, wants to be an Olympic champion. Like you said, the outside world, when they think of track, they think of the Olympics. So, like you said, no one as a little kid says, I want to be world champion. No, it's I want to be an Olympian, you know? And so I think everybody steps it up a notch. Every year we're training hard, you know, world championship year, we're training hard, but that Olympic year, you just step it up just a notch, right? And we're going to see some crazy performances. We're going to see people we haven't ever heard of before come out of nowhere. We're going to see people who may have been struggling from some years bounce back because people just want it that much more. So Olympic year is different. And I'm excited to be a fan of the Olympics this year.
Man, you talked about people coming out of, you never want to say nowhere because they are actually working, right? Like they're doing their thing, but their name pops out a little bit more. You know, shout out to Ray Wells, man, 648, man, capitalize on that as much as you can, man. Use that time to get you into all of the indoor meets. Go get in front as much as you can in front of the public eye, man, because Olympic year is a great opportunity from a business standpoint for these athletes as well, too. You got to use it to your advantage. But Olympic year, I'm expecting people that we may not have been familiar with their work, with their times, to kind of pop up a little bit. And some of the old faces, some of the old ones who are still holding it down, they're going to elevate and they're going to come back as well, too. So Olympic year is always exciting, and it's always fast.
Always fast. Yeah. Always. The Olympic trials.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Stress.
Yeah.
It's especially for you.
Yeah.
Especially for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we have months and months to talk about Olympics and Olympic trial stories. But to answer the question, is Olympic year any different than any other year? Yes, it is. It is. I think we agree on that.
Yeah. And I think any person who is involved in the sport right now would probably say the same. If you are someone who doesn't really follow the sport like that, but you like seeing the Olympics every 4 years, let us know what your thoughts, give us your perspective. Do you think the Olympic year is different than any other year? Let us know in the comment section below. It's crazy because this is a time where February, March, outdoors around the corner, like April talks, like end of March. All right, so going to be interesting to see how things go. As we just finished up Grand Prix, New Balance Grand Prix, there's a lot of meets ahead. What are you looking forward to? Like, especially this upcoming weekend, is there some meets? Obviously, Millrose Games is the highlight one. What are your thoughts about Millrose Games? And you're someone who has competed there in high school. What do you remember most about those times? Give us a little insight.
Yeah, I remember in high school, I ran the mile at some meet. I don't even remember what meet it was. And I got approached like, hey, do you want to run at the Millrose Games mile? And I'm like, at the time, I didn't appreciate how special that was to run in the Madison Square Garden, that's where it was at the time, not the Armory. Yeah, I don't think I appreciate it, but now that I'm older, like that was really cool. Wasn't really a fan of the mile. I wish it was the 800, but yeah, it was cool. I think I got second. It was a fun experience. I never competed there as a pro. I wish I did, but I know you did.
So who beat you?
It was Danielle Toro. Shout out to Danielle. She went off to the University of Michigan, had a good career there, but I wasn't a miler. So, I mean, I was just happy to be there.
Again, this is like, high school. And if any of you know about Chanelle's story, Gatorade Athlete of the Year and all of the intangible things, stuff that come with it. I didn't get that. I was in Canada, right? We don't have the same type of thing. So you went to the Millrose Games when you were in high school. So that's what, 2000 what?
I think it was 2007.
So I went there 2015 was when I went to the Millrose Games.
As a pro.
Yes. It's interesting because the Millrose Games was the first track and field thing that I saw on TV when I left Jamaica and came to Canada. I was like, oh, this is cool. I don't remember who ran it, but I remember the name. And so when I went there, I liked the experience of it, the history of it. I like the atmosphere of it. Didn't really know too much about it per se. I just knew, I saw this like 10 years ago. But
so by the time you went, it was at the Armory, not the Garden.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. I believe so. Because if it was at the MSG, I would have tried to get a little basketball sign. You know what I'm saying? But it was a great meet. It was one of my favorite meets. That and New Balance, I got the opportunity to compete there as well too. I like them both. And so Millrose Games is definitely something that we are looking forward to. There's going to be a lot of athletes there. Obviously, we don't know the start list of everything yet, but we've heard names like Christian Coleman's there. Andre DeGrasse is going to be there. Going to be interesting to see how he performs, him not being really a 60 guy, but going to be interesting. Obviously, the world record holder, Christian Coleman's there. So going to see how that goes. A bunch of others, Millrose, they're going to bring out the top guys, the top level. So it's going to be great competition.
Yeah, I'm excited for the men's and women's miles. They're always really fast. I heard Laura Muir is coming.
Okay.
So, I'm a fan of her. Paced her plenty of times. So, I think the men's and women's miles are always highlights of the Millrose Games. They're always going after some type of record. So.
Let me ask you this before we move forward to our Run Your Race topic, which we'll talk about what that is. Give me your top 5, I would say, favorite indoor meets. Give me some of your favorite ones.
Obviously, to watch, as we're talking about at the Millrose Games, and like I mentioned before, I would have loved to be able to compete there as a pro, especially because going to New York is almost like going home. So would have definitely loved to compete there as a pro. Top indoor meets. I didn't really get to compete much as a pro because of health and injury. So
cool. I'm not talking about that.
well, I mean, I don't really have that many. I mean, I was always competing at collegiate meets as a pro. So
yeah, if I had to say mine, I gotta go with Millrose is up there, and not because we're talking about it. I actually did like that meet. Grand Prix, New Balance Grand Prix. And whenever I went over to the London, man, UK meets, those fans are always out, always coming out. I like how they run their system over there in Europe. They do a great job. And even some of the smaller ones like Malmo, Sweden. That was a good one as well, too. Didn't run the greatest there. But yeah, I'm someone who I had to rewire my mind to the indoor season because I wasn't the best starter until I started working with Stuart McMillan again, and I got a little bit better, a little bit healthier, and actually, was running good indoor times. So I got to travel a little bit more and just to see what else is out there, man. Every country does things a little bit differently, but I think the indoor season is fun to watch because it's like a primer for what's to come. Doesn't mean it's going to be the full package because there are some people who aren't the greatest starters, but if they can work on a couple things, it'll make their outdoor times a little better. As you can see, I'm talking as a sprinter, right? So this is the dynamic duo that works because you're going to talk about the longer stuff and we're going to talk about the shorter stuff, and we're not going to neglect the throws. We see the throws. We're going to talk about that too.
Jumps.
Yeah. No biasness, no eventousness, so to speak. So looking forward to what's to come. Looking forward to seeing the start list there. Obviously, there's going to be other meets happening that we will definitely cover and recap next week of this show. So let's close out a little bit here. I think this is a good starter. This is a segment, the final segment that you can consistently be able to see towards the end of the show. As you know, the show is called Run Your Race Show, and we're all in life running our own race. Again, at the beginning, we talked about bridging the gap between track and life. This is the part of the show where we talk about the life aspect, the personal development part, the personal stories, and how we handle certain things, and how we took what we learned in track and hopefully applied applicable things to help us in life. And I thought, since this is an Olympic year, there can be a lot of pressure that comes with that. Pressure everywhere that we go, especially in life. How did you handle pressure on the track? And how has the pressure you've handled on the track, what are some steps that are applicable to help you, how you handle your pressure in life?
That's good. I would say I didn't really handle the pressure well. You mentioned earlier, high school Gatorade Athlete of the Year. I took that pressure from my high school performance and carried it with me to college and didn't know how to handle it. I felt like there was like a heavy weight on my back. I felt like I was trying to run 2 laps with like 20-pound weights on my back. And you're not going to run an 800 well with that amount of weight holding you back. So I struggled in college. I struggled my first couple of years as a pro because of the pressure. And then I finally figured out that if I was going to continue in the sport, I had to figure some stuff out. And it was a change in perspective that helped me navigate the pressure, because the pressure didn't go away. It's never going to go away. Like you said, there's always pressure. And I think sometimes pressure has a negative connotation, but it's not negative. I think it's just how you channel it. And so I had to change my approach on the track. My mindset, my perspective, instead of saying like, oh, I'm so afraid to fail. I'm so afraid that I'm going to let people down. I'm so afraid of XYZ. It became, you know what, this is an opportunity for me to go out here and do my thing. This is an opportunity for me to use my gift to showcase all this hard work that I've been doing. So I started to see my races as an opportunity to showcase Chanelle and to just do my best. And I started saying, you know what? Those people who truly love me, they're going to love me regardless of how I perform out here on this track. So stop thinking that you're letting people down if you don't perform a certain way. And so letting all that go, just changing my perspective. And I think I can apply that to life as well. And you've taught me that, like, what is your perspective? Various situations that happen in life. What is your perspective? And just having a mindset switch has really helped.
Yeah. You know, for me, it was not so much, the pressure came for me internal more than it was external. However, my circumstance made it tough for me. And I developed that external, and that led to a lot of internal things. So for example, I always equated track and field and certain things like it's an avenue to make my life better. And so you talked about that weight, feeling like that 20-pound weight was in your, you're carrying in your backpack. Like I felt like that every single time that I was competing. No, I was pretty good at compartmentalize it, but it wasn't healthy, right? Because for me, I was like, every time I didn't run fast, I was like, man, this isn't making my situation better. If anyone knows anything about my story, it came from extremely humble beginnings. And so for me, I was like, man, if I run fast, my situation is going to be better. When I didn't run fast, I'm like, man, it's not getting better. And so I wouldn't have anything positive to take with me as I would be going back to practice to improve on some of the stuff that went well in the race. And it wasn't until I was about 22, where I started taking positive things from a race that maybe didn't go so well. And it put me in a better perspective and mood to be able to say, you know what, Akeem, yeah, you didn't run the time that you wanted, but hey, some good things happen here. And especially in track and field where it's us against the clock. When you put in so much work day in, day out, week to week, month to month, year to year, and you don't see the time that you thought you should see, you're upset. You're like, what? Many of us has crossed the line and we look at the clock and we're just like, really?
The math ain't mathing.
Like that time you ran 2:06?
We're not going to talk about that.
Okay. But you have to learn. I know I had to learn. I like, man, and in sprinting, right? One of the things, sprinting is an oxymoron. It's an aggressive movement while you're trying to be relaxed at the same time. And so there are things that you have to be aggressive with, but in phases, but out of your transition, you want to be smooth, you want to be relaxed. And so that's things that I had to learn. Like I can't take this heaviness into the race, into training. I have to learn how to let go of the heaviness and the weight and understand that even when you run fast, your situation is not going to change like that. There are things that you have to do. There are contract talks that you have to go about, so it's the perspective in how I handle pressure. I had to let go of the mindset of saying, Akeem, nothing went right in this race. When in hindsight, yeah, your first 20 was great. You were rushing it a little bit more. Okay, so we need to find a way how to work with that. So handling pressure to me And as you just said, the two words that we talked about was perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Again, when we do this, like, we don't necessarily talk about exactly what we're going to be saying to each other, because that would be cheating in a way. So that's kind of how we do it. In a pressure situation, how you see the pressure is going to help you deal with that pressure. So got to remember to have fun as well too. I forgot, in all transparency, I wasn't always having fun when I was running. It was more business. But the times that I did run well, I was able to compartmentalize the business for a moment and just remember, this is a race. Like, you get the opportunity to just run. So when you think about handling pressure, what comes to mind? Let us know in the comments. Maybe there's something that we said that maybe sticks with you. If there is something that we said, what is that word? What comes to mind? I think that's a good end right there. Mic drop.
Yes.
So thank you guys for taking the time to tune in. We appreciate each of you again. This is going to happen every Monday. Again, obviously, this may seem like a random thing to a lot of people, but to us, this is something that we've been talking about, and there is no greater way how to make an entrance than just to walk in.
Just do it. That was a Nike plug, but they're not.
No, we're not. No. We're not giving free advertisement to Nike, man. We're not doing that. But appreciate each of you. Before we go, if you want to support the show, the best way you can support the show, well, I guess 2 ways. Share this with a friend, and like, comment, share, and definitely subscribe for more. So I guess we'll see you next week, huh?
Yeah. Have a great week. Thanks for tuning in.